There's a question most people never stop to ask themselves. And yet the answer shapes everything in their life. Are you building something, or are you quietly destroying it? Not in big, obvious ways, but in the small choices, the daily reactions, the thoughts no one else hears. Because the truth is, you don't become successful or broken overnight. You become it through patterns. And here's the uncomfortable part. Most people don't even know which one they are. Every thought, word, and action you engage in is quietly shaping the direction of your life, whether you realize it or not. Nothing is neutral. The way you think about yourself either strengthens your confidence or weakens it. The words you speak either reinforce belief and possibility or plant doubt and limitation. And your actions, especially the small, repeated ones, either move you forward or slowly pull you away from what you truly want. Most people are waiting for a big moment to change everything, but life doesn't work that way. It's built or broken in the unnoticed details of everyday behavior. When you choose discipline over distraction, you are building. When you delay, avoid, or give in to excuses, you are allowing small cracks to form. Over time, those cracks either become a strong foundation or a collapse. Even something as simple as how you respond to challenges matters. If your instinct is to grow, learn, and adapt, you are creating strength. If your instinct is to complain, blame, or withdraw, you are feeding destruction. The truth is, you don't suddenly arrive at success or failure. They are both the result of what you consistently think, say, and do. Awareness is what separates those who build from those who don't. Because once you understand that every moment carries weight, you begin to act with intention instead of impulse. And that shift alone starts changing everything in your life from the inside out, turning ordinary choices into powerful tools for creation, instead of quiet sources of self-sabotage. Most people genuinely believe they are building a better life. But if you look closely at their daily habits, a different story begins to unfold. It's not that they don't have goals or intentions. They do. They talk about growth, success, discipline, and change. But what they repeatedly do doesn't match what they claim to want. This is where quiet self-sabotage lives. It doesn't show up as obvious failure. It hides in small, acceptable behaviors. Scrolling for hours instead of focusing. Delaying important tasks. Choosing comfort when effort is required. Or constantly telling yourself you'll start later. None of these feel destructive in the moment, which is why they're so dangerous. They create an illusion of progress while slowly draining your potential. You might read something motivational, feel inspired, and believe you're moving forward, but without aligned action, nothing actually changes. Over time, this gap between intention and behavior grows wider, and that's where frustration begins. You start questioning why things aren't working, even though deep down your habits are giving you the answer. What makes this even more challenging is that these patterns become normalized. When everyone around you is doing the same thing, it feels acceptable. But normal doesn't mean effective. The truth is, building requires consistency, and consistency requires honesty. You have to be willing to look at your day without excuses and ask yourself if your actions are truly supporting your goals or quietly working against them. Because the difference between someone who builds and someone who stays stuck isn't knowledge, it's alignment. When your habits match your intentions, progress becomes inevitable. But when they don't, you remain in a cycle of wanting more while unconsciously holding yourself back from ever reaching it. The difference between someone who builds a meaningful life and someone who slowly tears it down often comes down to one defining trait: responsibility. Builders understand that no matter what happens around them, they still have control over how they respond. They don't waste energy pointing fingers or waiting for perfect conditions. Instead, they ask a simple but powerful question: what can I do about this? That question keeps them moving forward. On the other hand, destroyers tend to focus on everything outside their control. They blame circumstances, other people, bad timing, or unfair situations. While those things may be real, staying focused on them creates a mindset of helplessness. And when you feel helpless, you stop taking action. Responsibility doesn't mean ignoring challenges or pretending life is always fair. It means choosing ownership over your reactions, your effort, and your direction regardless of what you're facing. Builders turn setbacks into lessons because they believe there is always something to learn or improve. Destroyers turn setbacks into excuses, reinforcing the belief that nothing will change. Over time, this mindset becomes a pattern. One person keeps growing because they are constantly adjusting and improving, while the other remains stuck, repeating the same outcomes. The truth is, responsibility is not about fault, it's about power. The moment you take ownership, you regain control over your life. You stop waiting for someone or something to fix things for you. Instead, you begin to build step by step, decision by decision. And while it may not feel easy at first, it creates momentum that compounds over time, turning small efforts into real progress and transforming challenges into opportunities for growth and strength. What you do repeatedly, even in the smallest ways, is what eventually defines who you become. Identity is not formed by intentions, goals, or occasional bursts of motivation. It is shaped by patterns. The things you do daily, especially when no one is watching, are quietly building a version of you that becomes harder to change over time. If you consistently choose discipline, focus, and effort, you begin to see yourself as someone reliable and strong. But if your routine is filled with delay, distraction, and inconsistency, you start reinforcing an identity that struggles to follow through. The key is that your brain doesn't judge based on what you say you want. It responds to what you actually do. Every repetition sends a signal, and over time, those signals become beliefs. You don't suddenly wake up confident. You build confidence by repeatedly keeping promises to yourself. You don't suddenly become unmotivated. You become that way by repeatedly avoiding what matters. This is why patterns are so powerful. They remove the need for constant decision-making and turn behaviors into automatic responses. The danger is that both positive and negative patterns work the same way. A small habit may feel insignificant in the moment, but repeated over weeks and months, it becomes a defining force. That's how identities are built quietly, without dramatic moments or sudden realizations. Once a pattern is established, it begins to guide your actions, often without you even noticing. This is why awareness is critical. Because when you recognize what you are repeating, you gain the ability to change it before it becomes permanent. And that awareness gives you the power to shift your identity in a direction that aligns with the person you truly want to become. Awareness is the moment where everything begins to change, because you cannot transform what you refuse to see. Most people live on autopilot, repeating the same thoughts, habits, and reactions without ever questioning them. They move through their days assuming they are doing their best, unaware of the subtle ways they are holding themselves back. But the instant you become aware, that automatic pattern is interrupted. You begin to notice how you think when things go wrong, how you respond to pressure, and how your daily choices are shaping your results. That awareness can feel uncomfortable at first, because it forces you to confront the gap between who you are and who you want to be. But that discomfort is not a setback. It's a signal that you are finally seeing clearly. Once you see clearly, you can no longer make the same choices unconsciously. You start catching yourself in the moment, before you fall into old habits. Instead of reacting the same way, you pause, and in that pause, you create space for a different decision. That is where change actually happens. Not in big declarations, but in small conscious shifts repeated over time. Awareness gives you the power to stop blaming, stop drifting, and start choosing with intention. It moves you from reaction to control, from habit to decision. And the more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. You begin to recognize patterns faster, adjust quicker, and align your actions with your goals more consistently. This is how you move from unconsciously destroying your progress to intentionally building your future, one aware decision at a time, shaping a life that reflects clarity, purpose, and deliberate action.